Maria had been feeling nervous all morning. She had been running late because her car wouldn't start, and she had spent the last 30 minutes trying to get it fixed while making sure her son, Liam, had eaten breakfast and was ready for school. But today wasn't a normal day, it was the day of her blind date. Her friend had insisted that she meet Michael, a kind and successful man she had never met before, and while Maria had been hesitant, she had agreed. She had pictured herself arriving on time, looking neat and composed, sipping coffee while making small talk, and perhaps even feeling a spark of connection. But reality had other plans. Her car had refused to start, her clothes had wrinkles from being packed in a rush, and now her young son, Liam, insisted on coming along. Maria had tried to explain that it wasn't appropriate to bring a child on a date, but Liam had refused to stay home, claiming he didn't want his mom to be alone. And so, with a mixture of dread and hope, she found herself standing outside a trendy downtown cafe, gripping Liam's small hand, while her heart raced with anxiety. The cafe's large glass windows reflected her worried expression back at her as she adjusted her bag nervously over her shoulder. Inside, the place was buzzing with soft chatter and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, warm pastries, and something sweet that reminded her of simpler times. She spotted Michael immediately, a man in his 40s with kind eyes and a calm smile, sitting at a table near the window. He waved at her casually, his expression gentle and welcoming. Maria felt a pang of relief but also a deep wave of embarrassment. "I'm so sorry. I didn't plan for him to come," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Liam clung tightly to her hand, looking up at her with innocent curiosity, not quite understanding why his presence seemed to embarrass her so much. Michael leaned back slightly in his chair, studying both of them for a moment, then smiled warmly. "No worries at all. It's nice to meet both of you," he said in a calm, friendly voice that immediately eased some of Maria's tension. She tried to smile back, though her cheeks flushed, and she felt a mix of relief and continued worry about how the rest of the meeting would go. As they walked to the table, Maria noticed how naturally Michael adjusted his posture, as if he had anticipated the unexpected. Liam, shy at first, stared at the colorful menu cards and the pastries displayed under the glass counter, his eyes wide with excitement. Maria could feel the tension in her shoulders slowly melting as she watched her son's fascination. Michael crouched slightly to Liam's level and asked, "Do you like chocolate croissants, buddy?" Liam nodded vigorously, and a smile spread across Michael's face. That small act of kindness set the tone for the meeting, and Maria felt an unexpected warmth in her chest. She was used to feeling judged, sometimes by strangers, sometimes by people who didn't understand the challenges of being a single mom, but Michael's demeanor was different. There was no judgment, only genuine curiosity and friendliness. As they sat down, Maria tried to compose herself, smoothing out the wrinkles in her blouse, though she knew it was futile. She glanced around the cafe, noticing the small details she often overlooked: the soft hum of conversation, the clinking of coffee cups, the gentle music playing in the background, and the sunlight streaming through the windows. All of it seemed to create a comfortable bubble around them, as if the world outside didn't exist. Liam, now feeling more comfortable, began to fidget with a napkin on the table, twisting it into funny shapes. Maria's initial reaction was to worry that he would disrupt the meeting, but Michael leaned forward with a warm smile and said, "Hey Liam, that's impressive. Can you show me how you do it?" Liam's eyes lit up, and he began demonstrating his napkin folding skills with animated gestures, making Michael laugh. Maria couldn't help but smile, feeling a mix of pride and relief. Her son, who often made her feel like she had to apologize for everything, had just become the icebreaker for what could have been an awkward encounter. As the laughter settled, Michael began asking Maria about her work, her interests, and how she balanced life with Liam. Maria hesitated at first, not used to opening up to strangers about her struggles and triumphs, but Michael listened with genuine attention, nodding and responding thoughtfully. There was no rush, no pressure, just a calm, patient presence that allowed her to speak freely. She found herself sharing small victories like finishing a tough project at work or managing to cook dinner after a long day, and the little challenges that came with being a single mom. Michael's responses were empathetic, never dismissive, and Maria felt a rare sense of being truly heard. As the conversation flowed, Maria noticed how Liam had grown quiet, now fully engaged in observing the cafe around him. He occasionally whispered something to his mom, and she responded with a soft smile, feeling a sense of normalcy and comfort she hadn't felt in a long time. Michael's presence had a calming effect, not only on Maria but on Liam as well. She realized that the anxiety she had felt earlier, the embarrassment, the fear of judgment, was gradually giving way to a quiet hope. Perhaps this blind date wouldn't be as awkward or stressful as she had imagined. Perhaps it could even be something enjoyable. And as she looked at Michael's kind expression and the gentle way he interacted with her son, she felt a small spark of something she hadn't felt in years: optimism. The date hadn't even begun in earnest yet, but Maria sensed that today might be the start of something different, something she could not yet define, but something that felt unexpectedly promising. She took a deep breath, squeezed Liam's hand lightly, and allowed herself to relax into the moment, grateful that despite all the challenges, she had taken a chance to show up and face the day and perhaps a new beginning. As the conversation continued, Maria began to notice something she hadn't expected: how naturally her son, Liam, seemed to feel around Michael. At first, she had worried that having a child present would make the meeting awkward, but now she could see that Liam's presence was creating a sense of warmth and openness that she hadn't imagined. Michael, with his calm and patient demeanor, had a way of including Liam in the conversation without forcing it, asking simple questions that made the boy's eyes light up with excitement. "Do you like drawing, Liam?" Michael asked casually, leaning forward just enough to make eye contact with him. Liam nodded enthusiastically, and without hesitation, he began explaining the details of his latest doodles: a spaceship, a dragon, and a little stick figure that he said was his mom. Maria couldn't help but smile, watching her shy little boy gain confidence in front of someone new. It made her chest feel warm and full in a way she hadn't felt in years. Michael laughed softly, genuinely interested in the story, and even offered to share one of his own childhood drawings, describing how he and his sister used to spend hours creating imaginary worlds on pieces of paper. Maria felt a mix of relief and amazement. Not only was Michael patient, but he also had the rare ability to make her son feel included and important. She realized that this was the kind of person she had been hoping to meet: not someone who would judge her or her life, but someone who could understand and embrace it. The ice that Maria had felt earlier, the nervousness and embarrassment of having her son with her, seemed to melt away with every shared smile and gentle laugh. As Liam continued to talk about his drawings, Maria and Michael moved into a conversation about everyday life, work, and small dreams. Maria found herself sharing things she rarely told anyone: how she sometimes struggled to make ends meet, how tired she felt after long days balancing work and motherhood, and how she worried about not having enough time for herself. Michael listened attentively, nodding and responding with understanding rather than pity. "You do so much," he said quietly, "and you do it with love. That matters more than anything." Maria felt a lump in her throat. It had been a long time since anyone acknowledged her efforts in such a sincere way. She wanted to respond, to explain that it wasn't always easy, but the words caught in her throat, replaced instead by a quiet gratitude that she couldn't fully express. Michael's presence was calming, grounding even, and Maria felt as if a weight she hadn't realized she was carrying had begun to lift. As the afternoon sun streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow over the cafe, Maria noticed how natural the conversation had become. It wasn't forced, awkward, or formal, it was honest and kind, filled with laughter, small stories, and shared understanding. She realized that she had spent so many years rushing through life, trying to meet expectations and manage responsibilities, that she had almost forgotten how to enjoy a simple conversation with someone new. Liam, now seated beside Maria, had taken out a small notebook from his backpack and was quietly sketching, occasionally showing his drawings to Michael. Each time Michael admired the work with genuine interest, Liam's face would light up, and Maria felt an unexpected sense of pride. Her son, who was often shy around strangers, was thriving in this environment, and she couldn't help but feel grateful for Michael's patience and warmth. As they sipped their drinks, Maria with her latte, Michael with a black coffee, and Liam with a small chocolate milk, Maria noticed a small detail that made her heart swell. Michael had subtly shifted his chair to create a comfortable space for both her and Liam, ensuring that they didn't feel crowded or out of place. It was a small gesture, but in that moment, Maria realized how rare and meaningful it was to meet someone who could naturally consider the needs of others without being asked. She felt a mixture of relief, admiration, and hope that this encounter could be something more than just a blind date. They talked about hobbies, favorite books, and small joys that made life meaningful, from morning walks to baking simple desserts. Michael shared a story about learning to cook as a teenager and how he once accidentally set a cake on fire, which made Maria laugh out loud. She hadn't laughed like that in a long time, and the sound surprised her. It was light, unburdened, and genuine. Liam joined in, giggling at the thought of a burned cake, and Maria felt a surge of happiness that was both comforting and unexpected. She realized that these moments of shared laughter and connection were rare in her busy, sometimes lonely life, and she wanted to hold on to them. Michael then asked Maria about her dreams, her hopes for the future, and even the little things she wished she could do if time and circumstances allowed. Maria hesitated at first, not used to speaking about her desires aloud, but something in Michael's gentle voice and attentive gaze encouraged her to open up. She spoke about her wish to travel with Liam, to experience new places, to have time for herself, and to pursue creative projects she had put aside. Michael listened carefully, nodding and offering thoughtful responses, never rushing her or making her feel silly for dreaming. Maria felt a growing sense of comfort, realizing that this was more than a date. It was a rare moment of understanding, validation, and emotional connection. Liam, sensing the shift in energy, began telling Michael about his favorite games and imaginary adventures, and Michael played along, asking questions and encouraging him to elaborate. Maria felt a mixture of relief and wonder at how easily her son had bonded with a stranger, and how that connection had helped ease her own nervousness. The afternoon passed quickly, marked by laughter, small stories, and genuine conversation. Maria noticed that the initial anxiety she had felt, the fear of judgment, the embarrassment of having her son present, was replaced with a quiet sense of belonging. She realized that Michael's warmth and patience had created a safe space for her to be herself, to include Liam without fear, and to feel valued not just as a mother or a single woman, but as a person. As the cafe began to fill with the soft golden light of late afternoon, Maria felt a deep sense of gratitude. This blind date, which had started with so much uncertainty and worry, had transformed into something unexpected, a moment of genuine human connection, warmth, and kindness. She glanced at Michael and then at Liam, noticing the smiles, the small gestures, and the way the three of them had found a rhythm together. For the first time in a long while, Maria felt a sense of possibility, not a grand, unrealistic hope, but a quiet, comforting belief that life could bring unexpected joy, even in small doses. She squeezed Liam's hand gently and realized that today, despite all the chaos and uncertainty, had become a memory she would treasure, a reminder that kindness, patience, and genuine attention could turn an ordinary moment into something extraordinary. Maria allowed herself to relax completely for the first time that day, feeling lighter, happier, and a little more hopeful about the future. She didn't know where this connection with Michael would lead, but in that moment, she understood something important, that openness, trust, and a little bit of courage could create moments of magic in the most ordinary places, and that sometimes, the best surprises came when she least expected them. As the date continued, Maria felt a sense of calm she hadn't experienced in years. The initial tension she had carried with her, the anxiety of showing up late, the embarrassment of bringing Liam, and the fear of being judged had slowly faded into a quiet, comforting presence. Michael had a way of making both her and her son feel included and valued, and Maria realized that this simple act of kindness was something she had longed for more than she could put into words. Liam, now feeling fully at ease, had moved from the table to a small corner of the cafe where he could draw and play quietly, occasionally showing his sketches to Michael, who praised each one with genuine enthusiasm. Maria watched him with a mixture of pride and relief, realizing that she no longer had to apologize for her son's presence or feel guilty for the chaos that sometimes came with motherhood. Instead, Michael's warmth and acceptance made her feel like the three of them were creating a small, happy world of their own within the cozy cafe. As she sipped her latte, Maria found herself opening up more freely, speaking about her everyday life, her dreams, and even her fears. She told Michael about the struggles of balancing work and home, the exhaustion of long nights, and the small victories that often went unnoticed. Michael listened attentively, never interrupting, never judging, and occasionally offering gentle encouragement that made Maria feel lighter. "It's amazing how much you do every day," he said softly, his voice full of sincerity. "And you do it with so much love. That really matters." Maria felt a lump in her throat as she processed the words. For so long, she had carried the burden of responsibility alone, often feeling invisible or undervalued. Hearing someone acknowledge her effort so genuinely was both comforting and emotional, and she realized how much she had missed that kind of recognition. As the conversation flowed, Michael shared stories from his own life, tales of childhood adventures, lessons learned, and moments of simple joy. He spoke about growing up in a small town, helping his parents with chores, and the little traditions that had shaped him into the person he was today. Maria found herself smiling, laughing, and occasionally nodding in understanding. There was a rhythm to their conversation, a natural ebb and flow that felt effortless. Liam, now doodling quietly beside them, occasionally chimed in with questions or comments, and Michael always included him, asking for his thoughts and opinions. Maria noticed how her son's face would light up when Michael showed interest, and she felt a profound sense of relief that Liam was being heard and appreciated. It struck her that Michael had the rare ability to make people feel seen, not just heard. As the cafe began to fill with the soft hum of afternoon activity, Maria found herself reflecting on the events of the day. She had entered the meeting feeling nervous, unprepared, and worried about how her life would be perceived. Now, she was laughing freely, sharing openly, and even allowing herself to dream about possibilities she had long set aside. The contrast was remarkable, and she realized that Michael's presence had made that shift possible not through grand gestures or dramatic words, but through patience, kindness, and genuine interest. At one point, Michael asked Maria about her hobbies, the small things she did for herself that brought joy, and she hesitated, unsure of how to answer. She had long neglected her own passions, focusing instead on providing for Liam and managing the daily responsibilities of life. But Michael's attentive gaze encouraged her to speak. She mentioned her love for reading, writing short stories, and occasionally painting, even though she hadn't done it consistently in years. Michael smiled warmly, encouraging her to pursue those interests, and Maria felt a small flame of inspiration stir inside her. It was as if someone had finally reminded her that her life didn't have to revolve entirely around obligations and responsibilities. She was allowed to nurture her own dreams as well. Liam, noticing the mention of painting, eagerly asked if Maria could draw with him someday. Maria chuckled, ruffling his hair, and Michael suggested that they could all spend an afternoon creating art together. Maria felt her heart lift at the thought, a simple idea, yet it filled her with unexpected joy. Throughout the afternoon, they continued to share stories, laughter, and gentle moments of connection. Michael spoke about the importance of family and relationships, not just as formal structures but as sources of love, understanding, and support. Maria listened, nodding, realizing that she had longed for such a connection herself, not in a romantic sense alone, but in the simple human desire to be understood and valued. She noticed how Michael treated her and Liam with equal respect, never making them feel less important, and she felt a quiet gratitude for his thoughtful presence. At one point, Liam wandered to a nearby table to show another drawing to the cafe staff, and Maria prepared to apologize, expecting embarrassment. But Michael simply smiled and said, "Let him explore. He's curious, and that's wonderful." Maria felt her chest relax completely. The constant need to apologize for her son's behavior, the fear of being judged, melted away in the face of such genuine acceptance. It was a small but powerful moment, one that reinforced her growing sense that this date, this connection, was unlike anything she had experienced in years. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting a golden glow through the cafe windows, Maria felt an unusual sense of peace. The nervousness she had carried that morning was replaced with a calm certainty that life could bring moments of joy, connection, and kindness, even when least expected. She reflected on how far she had come from rushing through life, burdened by worry and responsibility, to sitting here, fully present, laughing and sharing, and feeling genuinely seen. Michael's gentle encouragement and warmth had opened a door for her, allowing her to experience a small but profound shift in perspective. She realized that while the world could be unpredictable, and life often challenging, there were people who could make even ordinary moments feel extraordinary. Liam, now sitting quietly between them, shared a small story about his favorite game, and Michael listened intently, asking thoughtful questions. Maria felt a surge of gratitude, seeing her son's face light up with each exchange. The bond between Michael and Liam, formed in such a short time, was remarkable, and it filled Maria with a sense of hope and relief. She realized that life's surprises, when met with kindness and openness, could create moments of magic, simple, genuine, and heartfelt. By the time they finished their drinks and prepared to leave, Maria felt lighter than she had in years. The afternoon had brought laughter, understanding, and the rare experience of being fully seen and valued. She looked at Michael with gratitude and warmth, realizing that this blind date had far exceeded her expectations. It wasn't just a meeting with someone new, it was a reminder that life could bring unexpected joy, connection, and hope. As they walked out of the cafe together, Maria held Liam's hand and felt a deep sense of contentment. The sunlight warmed their faces, and she noticed the simple beauty of the world around her, the gentle rustle of leaves, the laughter of children playing nearby, and the quiet hum of life continuing around them. In that moment, she understood something profound, that even in life's chaos, in the daily struggle of responsibilities and challenges, there were opportunities for connection, kindness, and joy. Michael had shown her that it was possible to experience these moments without fear, judgment, or pretense, simply through patience, attention, and genuine care. Maria felt a quiet hope growing within her, a sense that the future, while uncertain, could hold happiness, connection, and even love. And as she walked with Liam beside her, she realized that sometimes the most meaningful moments came when she least expected them, in ordinary places, with ordinary people who carried extraordinary kindness in their hearts. The day had started with worry and apprehension, but it ended with warmth, laughter, and the gentle reminder that life could be beautiful, even in its simplest moments. Maria breathed in deeply, smiling, and allowed herself to feel the peace, joy, and quiet excitement of what might be the beginning of something wonderful, not just in romance, but in life itself. As the days passed after that unexpected yet heartwarming meeting at the cafe, Maria found herself thinking about Michael more than she expected. It wasn't just about the idea of a potential romantic connection, it was the way he had listened, understood, and treated both her and Liam with such genuine care and respect. She replayed their conversation in her mind, remembering how he had laughed at Liam's imaginative stories, how he had encouraged Maria to speak openly about her dreams and challenges, and how effortlessly he had made them both feel comfortable in his presence. Even now, a week later, she could feel the warmth of that day lingering, and it made her wonder if such genuine connections could really exist in the hurried, often impersonal world she navigated every day. On Saturday morning, Maria decided to take Liam to the park, a plan she often used to reward herself and her son with a small break from routine. She packed a small backpack with snacks, a water bottle, and a notebook for Liam to draw in, remembering how much he had enjoyed sharing his art with Michael. As they walked hand in hand to the park, Liam chattered happily about the games he wanted to play and the sketches he wanted to make. Maria smiled quietly, feeling a rare sense of peace and freedom from worry. At the park, she watched Liam run to the swings, his laughter echoing across the open space. It reminded her of that afternoon in the cafe when his laughter had filled the room and warmed her heart in ways she hadn't realized she missed. As she sat on a nearby bench, Maria thought about how her life had changed since becoming a single mother, the struggles, the sacrifices, and the moments of quiet loneliness that came with trying to balance work, parenting, and self-care. But now, she felt a shift, a quiet spark of hope that had been ignited by Michael's presence. That small spark reminded her that life could bring unexpected joys, and that sometimes, the simplest gestures of kindness could leave lasting impressions. Later that week, Maria received a message from Michael, a simple note expressing how much he had enjoyed meeting both her and Liam and suggesting they meet again for another coffee or a casual afternoon activity. Maria's heart skipped a beat. She hesitated for only a moment, remembering her worries about being judged for her life, her responsibilities, and the unpredictability of having a child. But then she thought of how naturally Michael had accepted all of it, how he had made her feel seen and valued, and she knew her fears were unnecessary. She responded warmly, agreeing to meet again, and found herself smiling as she imagined the possibilities. When the next meeting arrived, Maria felt a familiar flutter of nervous excitement, though it was mixed with a newfound confidence. This time, they had planned a visit to a small art museum, a quiet and peaceful place where Liam could explore colors and shapes, and Maria could indulge her own curiosity. Michael arrived on time, greeting them with a warm smile and a cheerful hello for Liam. "Ready for an adventure?" he asked gently, and Liam nodded enthusiastically. As they walked through the museum, Maria noticed Michael's patience once again. He knelt to Liam's level, explaining paintings in simple terms, asking questions, and encouraging him to share what he liked. Liam's eyes sparkled with excitement, and Maria felt her heart swell with gratitude for someone who treated her son with respect and kindness. Meanwhile, Michael's conversation with Maria was easy, flowing naturally from one topic to another. They discussed the artists, the colors, and even the feelings the paintings evoked. Maria felt herself relaxing completely, realizing that this was the first time in a long while she had truly allowed herself to enjoy someone's company without self-consciousness or fear. At one point, Liam wandered to a small corner of the exhibit with a sketchpad he had brought along, quietly drawing while Michael continued to talk with Maria. She noticed how he occasionally glanced at Liam, checking on him without interrupting their conversation or making him feel pressured. It was these little gestures, the small, thoughtful actions, that made Maria realize just how rare genuine kindness was and how much it mattered in creating a meaningful connection. After spending a couple of hours exploring the museum, they found a quiet bench near a large window, the afternoon sunlight casting gentle patterns on the floor. Michael asked Maria more about her dreams, gently encouraging her to speak about the things she had once wished for but had set aside. Maria shared her longing to travel, to see new places with Liam, and to dedicate a small portion of her time to creative writing, hobbies she had abandoned in the busyness of life. Michael listened intently, offering encouraging words, reminding her that dreams were never too small or too late to pursue. "Life is full of possibilities," he said softly. "And it's never too late to create new memories and experiences." Maria felt a lump form in her throat. These weren't just words, they were a reminder that someone genuinely believed in her, that someone cared about her life and happiness beyond superficial charm or appearances. Liam, who had been quietly drawing, showed Michael his sketches, and Michael's genuine admiration made the boy beam with pride. Maria felt tears prick at her eyes, not sadness, but gratitude, relief, and a deep sense of being understood. As they walked home later that afternoon, Liam holding both their hands, Maria reflected on how much her life had shifted in just a short period. The anxiety and self-doubt that had once defined her experiences in social or personal settings were replaced by a quiet confidence, nurtured by the genuine care and patience Michael had shown. She realized that happiness didn't always come from grand gestures or dramatic changes. Sometimes, it came from simple, consistent acts of kindness, attention, and understanding. In the following weeks, Maria, Liam, and Michael spent more time together, engaging in small adventures, casual walks, and quiet afternoons filled with conversation, laughter, and shared creativity. Michael always made sure to include Liam in ways that respected his individuality, encouraging him to explore, ask questions, and express himself freely. Maria noticed how Liam thrived in Michael's presence. His confidence grew, his imagination blossomed, and his laughter became a constant source of joy. Maria herself felt lighter, happier, and more hopeful about life than she had in years. One evening, as they sat in the park watching the sunset, Michael turned to Maria and said softly, "You're amazing. Not just as a mom, but as a person. I can see the love you pour into everything, and it's inspiring." Maria's heart swelled. She realized that these moments, the ones filled with honest conversation, shared joy, and gentle encouragement, were more valuable than anything she had expected from a blind date. She felt seen, understood, and appreciated in a way that transcended superficial charm or casual interest. Liam, exhausted from running and drawing, leaned against her shoulder, and Maria felt a profound sense of peace. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to imagine a future that included happiness, connection, and love, not just for herself, but for her son as well. It was in these quiet moments, filled with laughter, storytelling, and gentle encouragement, that Maria realized something important: life, even with its struggles and unpredictability, could bring moments of genuine joy and human connection. Michael had reminded her that she didn't have to navigate the challenges of life alone, that someone could care, understand, and support without judgment. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with warm, golden colors, Maria felt a rare and precious certainty that even in life's ordinary moments, extraordinary kindness, connection, and hope could be found, and that her life, with all its imperfections and unpredictability, could be filled with joy, love, and possibilities she had never dared to imagine. The following weeks passed like a gentle dream for Maria, Liam, and Michael. Their friendship and connection had grown deeper with each meeting, each shared laugh, and each quiet moment together. Maria often reflected on how different her life felt compared to the days before she met Michael, how her worries and fears, though still present, were softened by the warmth and support she had found in him. Every time Liam spoke excitedly about a new drawing or a little adventure he had imagined, Michael would listen with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions that made Liam beam with pride. Maria felt a rare joy in seeing her son so confident, so seen, and so valued. She had always worried about whether she could give him everything he needed, whether she could protect his happiness and nurture his dreams, and now she realized that sometimes, kindness from the outside, someone who cared for both of them without judgment, could reinforce everything she had been trying to teach him. One Saturday morning, Michael invited them to a small outdoor fair in the city, promising games, snacks, and a few surprises. Maria hesitated for only a moment, thinking about the challenges of managing a busy schedule and taking time away from work. But she looked at Liam's sparkling eyes and remembered how important it was to allow herself and her son to experience joy and simple pleasures. That day at the fair was magical. Liam ran from booth to booth, laughing and playing games, while Maria and Michael followed closely, sharing smiles, occasional laughter, and quiet moments of conversation. Michael never rushed them, never made them feel pressured, and always included Liam in small decisions, asking which game he wanted to play next or which prize he liked best. Maria watched as her son's imagination flourished, and she felt her heart fill with gratitude for Michael's thoughtful presence. During a quiet moment, they sat on a bench near a small fountain, sipping lemonade and watching people pass by. Michael turned to Maria and asked gently, "What's something you've always wanted to do, just for yourself?" Maria paused, reflecting on the question. She realized that she had spent so many years putting her responsibilities and her son's needs first that she had almost forgotten what it meant to think about her own happiness. She smiled softly and admitted that she had always wanted to write a small book of stories, inspired by the little adventures and observations of her daily life, but she had never made time for it. Michael listened carefully and encouraged her warmly. "There's no better time than now," he said simply. "And I would love to read it someday." Maria felt a mixture of happiness and reassurance. For the first time, she truly believed that she could pursue her own dreams without guilt or hesitation, and that someone genuinely cared enough to support her ambitions. Liam, overhearing part of their conversation, insisted that his mom should write stories about his adventures too, and Michael laughed, promising to be the first to read them. Maria's laughter joined his, blending with the ambient sounds of the fair and Liam's cheerful giggles, creating a moment that felt timeless. Over the next few weeks, they continued to spend time together, sharing small adventures, quiet afternoons, and simple joys that strengthened their bond. Maria noticed that she felt lighter, more hopeful, and more confident than she had in years. She could laugh freely, dream openly, and savor moments of connection without fear or doubt. Michael's presence had transformed what she had once expected to be a simple blind date into an ongoing journey of understanding, joy, and mutual respect. One afternoon, as they strolled through a quiet neighborhood park, Michael asked Maria about her thoughts on the future. She hesitated, as she often did, feeling the weight of responsibility and the unpredictability of life, but Michael's gentle smile encouraged her to speak. She shared her hopes for creating a nurturing, happy environment for Liam, for finding small pockets of joy for herself, and for discovering meaningful connections that enriched their lives. Michael listened intently, nodding with understanding, and then he said something simple yet profound: "Life is full of unexpected blessings, Maria. Sometimes, we just need to recognize them when they arrive and let them grow." Maria felt tears prick her eyes, not from sadness, but from the realization that she had been carrying a quiet hope all along, and that hope was finally unfolding before her. Liam, ever curious and perceptive, piped up with a question about the birds flying above the park, and Michael took the time to explain gently about their migration and habits. Maria watched the two of them together, feeling a swell of pride, joy, and gratitude. It struck her how a simple act of kindness and patience had grown into a bond that brought happiness and confidence to both her and her son. Later, as the sky painted itself in shades of pink and gold, they sat together on a park bench, watching the day come to a peaceful close. Maria reflected on the journey from the nervous, anxious woman who had first walked into the cafe with her son in tow to the woman sitting now, relaxed, laughing, and sharing stories with someone who genuinely cared. She realized that life's challenges had not disappeared, but the weight of loneliness and doubt had been lifted by Michael's unwavering patience, understanding, and acceptance. She felt a quiet certainty that happiness, connection, and even love could exist in the midst of everyday life, and that she deserved to embrace it fully. That evening, as they walked home, Liam's small hand gripping hers and Michael's hand loosely resting on the back of her shoulder, Maria allowed herself to fully experience the joy of the moment. She thought about the small gestures, the shared laughter, and the gentle words of encouragement that had brought them to this point. She realized that happiness didn't have to be complicated or grandiose, it could be found in quiet afternoons, shared smiles, and sincere attention from those who care. In the weeks that followed, Maria began to write again, inspired by the stories of their shared moments and the little adventures she and Liam experienced every day. Michael encouraged her, offered suggestions, and often became her first reader, giving thoughtful feedback and celebrating each small success. Liam, excited to be part of the process, contributed his imaginative ideas, turning the writing into a creative family project filled with laughter and collaboration. One weekend, as they enjoyed a picnic in a sunny meadow, Michael shared a story from his own childhood, describing the importance of kindness, empathy, and patience in shaping meaningful relationships. Maria listened, feeling the resonance of his words in her own life. She thought about how far she had come from a nervous, struggling single mother to a confident, hopeful woman whose life was now filled with joy, connection, and support. Liam ran ahead to chase butterflies, and Maria watched him, feeling a profound sense of gratitude for the new chapter unfolding in their lives. That afternoon, Michael turned to Maria and said softly, "You've created something beautiful here, your love, your care, your courage. And it's only growing." Maria smiled, realizing that he was right. She had built a strong, loving foundation for her son, and now she had someone by her side who respected, understood, and valued both of them. It was a feeling of completeness she hadn't experienced in years. As the sun dipped lower and the sky turned deep orange, they packed up their picnic and walked home together, enjoying the quiet rhythm of their steps and the gentle chatter of Liam. Maria reflected on the journey of the past weeks, realizing that life had given her a gift she hadn't anticipated, a genuine connection that honored her life, her son, and her dreams. It wasn't a dramatic story filled with grand gestures or sudden transformations. It was a simple, beautiful unfolding of trust, patience, and kindness that had created a foundation for lasting happiness. That evening, as Maria tucked Liam into bed, she whispered softly, "See, life can be full of surprises. And some of them are really wonderful." Liam smiled sleepily, his trust and love for her evident, and Maria felt a wave of contentment wash over her. Later, sitting in the quiet of her living room with Michael by her side, she realized that the nervous, anxious woman who had walked into the cafe weeks ago had grown into someone who could embrace life's joys, hopes, and possibilities without fear. The journey had been filled with small moments, laughter, understanding, encouragement, and shared creativity, but each one had contributed to a deep sense of fulfillment and emotional richness. Maria knew that challenges would still come, as they always did in life, but she now had confidence that she could face them with love, resilience, and the support of those who truly cared. And as the night settled around them, Maria allowed herself to savor the moment, the peace, the joy, the connection, and to believe, with her whole heart, that happiness, love, and meaningful companionship were not only possible but deserved. Life had given her a second chance at hope, and she was ready to embrace it fully, with Liam by her side and Michael walking gently into their shared journey of laughter, dreams, and lasting joy.